Red Bull are somehow more dominant this year than they were last year. After the first race of the season, it was clear to everyone watching that they don't have too much to sweat about in terms of their second consecutive Constructors' title. Not even the penalty they're facing seems to faze them. Will their complacency lead to carelessness? Let's take a look at the current state of things in Red Bull. Max Verstappen comfortably won the opening race of the season at the Bahrain Grand Prix, crossing the finish line 12 seconds ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez and a further 26 seconds in front of Fernando Alonso from Aston Martin. Since then, Mercedes has conceded defeat, with Toto Wolff stating this week that he expects Red Bull to win all of the Grand Prix. George Russell echoed this sentiment last Sunday, claiming that the defending champions already have the world title in their grasp. Jenson Button caught wind of reports that Mercedes is already surrendering the fight, but as an analyst, he believes it's premature to make any predictions about the championship's outcome. He said, "How can you say that already? We have only had one race, and that too at a unique circuit like Bahrain. I don't believe in that." Despite an impressive performance, even at Red Bull, there is a sense of caution. Max Verstappen, Christian Horner, and Helmut Marko all emphasized that the season is long and that ongoing development is essential to maintain their lead. One factor that may impact this is that teams like Aston Martin have considerably more wind tunnel time at their disposal. Button would later add, "I watched the race, and the Red Bulls are out in front. It looked like a relatively easy race, especially for Max. But I have to say, forgetting who won the race, it was a great race. It was too easy for Max, yes it was, but the race itself was great. I loved the action. To see two multiple world champions going at it, Lewis and Fernando, it was pretty special. I know a lot of drivers have said it is going to be an easy championship for Red Bull and Max, but how can you say that? We have only tested one track. We have only raced at one track. We all know Bahrain is very unique in the way that the cars work there. It is a heavy braking, traction circuit. It is not so much about high speed, so we can't say that. I think we will understand a bit more after Saudi, which is a bit more of a high-speed, flowing track, and also when we get to some of the European races, added the 2009 world champion. So no, it is not a walk in the park for Red Bull and Max. It is a great start to the season and better than the one they had last year, but I think we're going to have some very close fights. I don't think it is going to be a straightforward win for Red Bull and Max. George Russell's prediction that Red Bull will win every Grand Prix this season may not come to fruition due to newly emerged issues. Sky Sports F1 commentator Martin Brundle disclosed that Red Bull faced critical challenges during the Bahrain Grand Prix that could have prevented Max Verstappen from winning. Brundle confirmed that Verstappen and his teammate Sergio Perez were dealing with transmission issues during the race in Sakhir, as stated in his column. Talking to a couple of key people after the race, it clearly wasn't as plain sailing for Red Bull as it looked. Both the cars had new oil inlet pipes fitted in Parc Fermé, and in the cars they were managing, critical transmission issues on both cars. Following the Red Bull duo was Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin, which impressed the audience with its speed. The AMR23 outperformed both Ferrari and Mercedes. There appears to be some similarity between the RB19 and the AMR23. After the race, Perez made a joke about seeing 3 Red Bull cars on the podium, and while Horner found it flattering that a competitor was copying Red Bull's concept, the Red Bull boss suggested that eventually, all teams would have to adopt similar strategies. He said, "The operating windows on these cars are extremely small, and the top 3 teams all appear to want to create their unique concepts. One team applied our concept and made huge progress, so I assume it will eventually converge over the course of a season." Although Christian Horner suggested that the Aston Martin was a green Red Bull, others disputed this claim. When asked about the matter, Aston Martin team principal Mike Crack declined to comment. "We do not want to go into any war of words. We are fighting here with teams that are used to driving on the front. They are used to high-intensity development. So I think, again, let's be respectful and humble and see how it continues." At the end of 2022, Red Bull received a $7 million fine for violating the 2021 financial regulations due to a minor overspend breach in the previous season. In addition to the financial penalty, the team was subjected to a 10% time penalty in wind tunnel development time, further reducing their already restricted development time as the reigning Constructors' Champions. When asked about the impact of the reduced wind tunnel time on Red Bull, Horner told the media that the RB19 strength has helped alleviate some of their initial worries about how their season would go. He told the media, "I think it's something you have to view over a 12-month period, because it's not just this year's car, it's next year's car. I think the really positive thing for us is that we're not dealing with a fundamental issue that soaks up that resource and time. So it was vital for us to be able to cope with that penalty, to have a solid starting point. I think that's what the team have done a great job in achieving." Horner stated that his team is aware of the fact that they will have less aero testing time than their competitors, and they have compensated for this by working harder to overcome the disadvantage. "I think it just focuses everybody's mind, it drives efficiency, and what we've lost in wind tunnel time, we gained in motivation. I think it's easy to overlook that and just what a great job the team has done over the winter. People have a very short memory in this business, and you're as good as your last race, and today, we're heroes. Tomorrow, it could be Ferrari, it could be Mercedes, it could be Aston Martin. So I think none of us are getting carried away with the result. It's the start of a marathon. The surface of this track is quite unique. Let's just wait and see what happens in Jeddah and Melbourne and some of the other circuits before drawing too many conclusions." At the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, the sport will experiment with a new format aimed at promoting sustainability while keeping the show intact. The new format will require drivers to use hard tires in Q1, mediums in Q2, and softs in Q3, while the total number of tire sets available for the weekend will be reduced from 13 to 11. Verstappen cautioned that colder temperatures might cause problems with the harder compounds. "I hope it's not going to be cold in Imola, otherwise it's going to be quite tricky. It's the same for everyone, but I don't think we need to actually do these kinds of things in qualifying. I don't really see the benefit of it. It's better if we make sure that all the cars are close to each other and more competitive, instead of spicing things up in that way, which I think is probably for the show. With how dominant Red Bull have been so far, it's only a question of how much farther they will be from the rest of the pack." So, do you see Red Bull winning every single race this season? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.